Well, hello and welcome to Chapter 9. We're going to do an overview of cellular respiration, then we're going to go more in depth. So lesson 9.1 is just a general overview of some of the reactants and products, so to speak. All right, so our far side is cute. While their owners sleep, nervous little dogs prepare for the day. He's drinking coffee. Those little dogs are all yippy and, stuff like that. The goal is to explain the interrelated nature of photosynthesis and cellular respiration. All right, moving on. Our objectives are to explain where organisms get the energy they need for life processes. Number 2 is define cellular respiration. And 3, compare photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Let's think about it then. You feel weak when you're hungry because food serves as a source of energy. How does the food you get converted into a usable form of energy for your cells then? Well, so objective 1 is to explain where organisms get the energy they need for life's processes to maintain homeostasis and all the other things like reproductions and stuff. So energy flows into an ecosystem as sunlight and leaves as heat. Photosynthesis generates oxygen and organic molecules which are used in cellular respiration. Cells use chemical energy stored in organic forms to regenerate ATP, which powers work. So this is our photosynthesis reaction right here. But it's the beginning of everything for us, isn't it? Because in photosynthesis, we get food. And food provides living things with the chemical building blocks that they need to grow and reproduce. Remember those macromolecules we discussed in the beginning of the school year. Living cells require energy from outside sources, especially us. Food molecules contain chemical energy that is released when its chemical bonds are broken. The transfer of electrons during a chemical reaction releases energy stored in organic molecules. This released energy is ultimately used to synthesize or make ATP. Some animals, such as the giant panda, obtain energy by eating plants, and as you know, some animals feed on other organisms that eat those plants. All right, so energy stored in foods is expressed in units of calories. A calorie is the amount of energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. I think we talked about this at the beginning of the school year too. 1,000 calories, or 1 kilocalorie, is what we usually use to measure when we're talking about dieting calories. And that comes with a capital C, or 1 capital C calorie right there. Cells use all sorts of molecules for food, including those fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. The energy stored in each of these molecules varies because their chemical structures, and therefore their energy storing bonds also differ. Cells break down food molecules gradually and then use the energy stored in the chemical bonds to produce compounds such as those ATP that power the activities of the cell. So objective 1 is explain where organisms get the energy they need for life processes. Yeah, we get it from food is the simple answer. Don't forget those macromolecules, people. All right, objective 2, define cellular respiration. So here's a preview of what we're going to be learning. We know about photosynthesis and chloroplast. We're going to be learning about cellular respiration, and this occurs in the mitochondria. All right, and we get ATP from it, and that powers most of our cellular work. And also there's heat loss then too. So if oxygen is available, organisms can obtain energy from food by a process called cellular respiration. If oxygen is not available, then you die. The summary of cellular respiration is presented right here. C6O2 plus your carbohydrates plus C6 yields carbon dioxide and water plus energy. And you get some heat, but you also get maximum 38 ATPs, all right? In words, it's oxygen plus glucose, all right? Carbon dioxide yields carbon dioxide, water, and energy. The cell has to release the chemical energy in food molecules like glucose, right here, gradually. Otherwise, most of the energy will be lost in the form of heat and light. We use energy from ATP to contract muscles, grow cells and divide our cells, electrical impulses in our brain, etc., all kinds of things. So although carbohydrates, fats, and proteins are all consumed as fuel, it is helpful for us to trace cellular respiration with the sugar glucose. All right? So because fats are broken down in a process called lipogenesis, and proteins are also broken down as a last resort if fats and glucose are not available in a process called protease. Why do you think proteins would be one of the last things that our body would want to break down? You should know that by now. All right, what happened to my little thing? There. So take a look at this slide. Only during the breakdown of carbohydrates do we go through the process of glycolysis stage, which is the G3P stage right here. And that's why we want to begin there. Fats and proteins skip those things. So the first thing we're going to use when we use our energy and make energy is carbohydrates, and then we're going to go to our fats, and then we go to our proteins last resort. All right, the three main stages of cellular respiration are glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, right here, and the electron transport chain. That sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? Might remind you of photosynthesis a little bit. So glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm of the cell. The cytoplasm, all right? The Krebs cycle is in the inner membrane of the mitochondria, called the cristae in there, all right? And the electron transport is actually in the membrane of the cristae, all right? So just give you a preview of where these things are occurring. So glycolysis produces only a small amount of energy. Most of the glucose energy, 90%, remains locked in the chemical bonds of the pyruvic acid at the end of glycolysis. And we'll learn a little bit more about that when we get to it. I'm just going to give you again an overview. During the Krebs cycle, a little more energy is generated from the pyruvic acid. And then finally, during the electron transport chain, produces the bulk of the energy in cellular respiration by using oxygen, which is a powerful electron acceptor. All right, so where this happened, the breakdown of organic molecules, again, is an exergonic or energy-releasing reaction. And here are some vocabulary words that you need to be a little more familiar with. We have cellular respiration. So cellular respiration includes both aerobic and anaerobic respiration, but is often used to refer to aerobic respiration. But for our case, it's going to be aerobic and anaerobic. So what is aerobic and anaerobic? Anaerobic consumes organic molecules and oxygen, all right, and yields us some ATP. That's aerobic. I say aerobic. Anaerobic is similar to aerobic, but consumes compounds other than oxygen, doesn't use oxygen. That's an means not. Aerobic means oxygen. So you can remember those words and difference between that way. And we'll get to fermentation later. Fermentation is a partial degradation of sugars that also occurs without oxygen. We'll be doing a lab using some yeast with that. So pathways of cellular respiration that require oxygen are called aerobic, like I just said. The Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain are both aerobic processes. Both processes take place inside the mitochondria. Glycolysis, which was the first in the stage, does not directly require oxygen, nor does it rely on oxygen-required processes to run. However, it is still considered part of the cellular respiration, and glycolysis takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell. So, and there's some interactive videos in a Neurilla Levine book you might want to look at too. So, define cellular respiration was our objective. Cellular respiration is a process that releases energy from food in the presence of oxygen. Objective 3 is compare photosynthesis and cellular respiration. So basically, photosynthesis and cellular respiration are opposite processes. The energy flows in opposite directions, all right? Photosynthesis deposits energy and cellular respiration withdraws energy. The reactants of cellular respiration are the products of photosynthesis and vice versa. The release of energy by cellular respiration takes place in plants, animals, fungi, protists, and most bacteria. Energy captured by photosynthesis, though, only occurs in plants, algae, and also some bacteria. So objective 3 was to compare photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Photosynthesis removes carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and cellular respiration puts it back. Photosynthesis releases oxygen into the atmosphere, and cellular respiration uses the oxygen to release energy from food. Cellular respiration. So our objectives, once again, were to explain where organisms get the energy they need for life's processes. Food. Define cellular respiration, and compare photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Opposite, vice versa reactions, you should say. And I'm going back to my cute pictures now. Those other ones, optical illusions, were giving me headaches. Have a good day, guys.